Welcome to the Stearns Financial Group live chat. Today we are doing a special Thanksgiving edition. Despite all the challenges of the last year in the pandemic, we hope that all of you have been reading our written chats and some of our special reports on having an attitude of gratitude. And this is the time of year when everybody focuses in on what do we have to be grateful for. Well, SFG supports a number of wonderful causes. Many of you know we have leaned in on working with middle schoolers for financial literacy, partnered with junior achievement. Well, today we have a special treat. We have Bob Krumroy, president of the Bikes for Kids Foundation, and this program is doing some amazing things. So we'll jump into it in just a minute. I'm going to introduce Bob. And by the way, if anybody has questions, make sure that you put those in the Q&A section of this chat. And so Bob's background, he's a very successful executive. And much like the live chat we had last week talking about transitions to a new chapter in life, he is still the heads up CEO of a technology company, but his new chapter is to be president of the Bikes for Kids Foundation. And as you'll hear, doing some amazing things to try to stop generational poverty. Now, I've been involved with a number of efforts over the years via the YMCA and other organizations who are doing some wonderful work all around the country in this area. But this particular discussion, I think you'll find interesting just from the standpoint of not only is it working, they're getting traction, but just the fact that it's beginning to spread all over the country. So welcome, Bob. We are delighted to have you.
Great to be here.
And
let me
kick in and just tell our audience about some of the origins of this program and how you got involved and what it's all about.
All right. First of all, we're not the new kid on the block. We were founded in 2002 with the help of Meadowlark Lemon, and I think that many of you probably know who Meadowlark Lemon is, particularly if you're over 50 years old, you can't help but know who Meadowlark Lemon was. He was the beginning of the Harlem Globetrotters. And what Will Chamberlain says even today was he is probably the most talented basketball player ever in the history of basketball. Now, I'm sure there's other people that may doubt that, but this guy was rather amazing. We met Meadowlark in 2002 and sat down and had a long conversation with Meadowlark about wanting to begin a foundation that would really serve the underserved children in America. Back then, there was no such thing as a Title I student. These were just called underserved kids. Today, they're probably named Title I students in your school systems. And a Title I student is a student that is their family is living below the poverty level. It's rather hard for you to imagine this, but this statistic is absolutely true, and that is this. 68% of every elementary school child in America is a Title I student. 68% of children in school systems receive a free breakfast and a free lunch. And many schools are 190% Title I, and they will give them a snack pack to go home. I'm working with a school, and a week from now, we'll be doing an award ceremony for being in this program. They're going to be surprised with what they're going to receive, which you'll see here in a second. And it's a 100% Title I school. So every kid in there is living below poverty level. Our mission with Meadowlark Lemon was to stop generational poverty. In other words, I'm all about food banks. We want to feed people, but you're going to stop generational poverty by getting to the children. Even LeBron James says you reach these kids in 3rd and 4th grade. That is their most influential school years in school. Up through 2nd grade, they really don't have any idea who's black, who's white, who's poor, who's rich. Whether it doesn't matter, their families are in poverty. These are small children growing up. By the time they hit 3rd grade, that's when they start to actually get grades. I think, as the school teacher said to me, through 2nd grade, they're learning to read. From 3rd grade on, they're reading to learn. So 3rd grade is a pivotal year in these kids growing up, and that's why LeBron James started his school in Akron, Ohio called I Promise School, which works with 3rd and 4th grade students only, and they're all Title I schools. Actually, he started doing that 10 years after we were doing our program, and they use some of the same materials that we use. So our mission was to stop generational poverty. We also decided there would never be an expense in this organization. In other words, we would never have paid executives. We would never have paid clerical. We would never have even hard space that was paid for. So my partner and I, since 2002, have picked up all the expenses in this. 100% of every dollar that comes into this goes to the children. And we're open book that you can see it anytime that you want to. So stop generational poverty. We decided we were going to provide new bicycles and helmets to underserved Title I 3rd grade children, but as a reward for the hard work in completing a 3-year character building program. In other words, we weren't going to be a program like, let's find a poor kid and give them a bike. We wanted to find the Title I children and work with them for an extended period of time. As Tampa said to us, the superintendent of schools, we love your program because you just didn't drive by and see us once and throw bikes out the window. You hung with us for 3 years with these kids, and this made a tremendous difference. Our entire intention is to develop pride, is to teach personal responsibility. The themes of our curriculum book is called Nothing is Given, Everything is Earned. And we instill a strong sense of accomplishment in these kids because they're not given the bike, they're rewarded a bike for their hard work and also for their social growth. As far as how does the program actually begin? First of all, we identified Title I elementary schools throughout the cities where we have a presence. And how do we have a presence? It's usually people that say, I want to be involved in this program. How do we start it up? Right now, we have major growth going in Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Florida, Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, Wilmington, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Toledo, Rochester and Buffalo is just going gangbusters right now. We were in St. Louis just a couple of days ago, and we're all over Southern California. So we identify, and we're in other places too, but I don't have time for Memphis. We have time for everybody. But we provide the lesson plan to the school system for our curriculum, and we provide the books. We then help attract the school sponsors to be able to sponsor the schools because it's all our work is done on a donor basis for the curriculum and the things that we need in the school for the children. We put together our groups on a yearly basis to assemble the bikes here in Greensboro, North Carolina. We have 43 sponsored schools. We have 6,000 children are affecting just in this community with our 3-year curriculum program. And obviously we have to have a lot of people to assemble bikes. We've got everybody from Volvo Truck Company here to Thomas Built Buses, Contours, which is the Wrangler jeans, to people that are just people that want to play a part, people that are doctors, dentists, professionals, some people have retired, some are actively working. So we pull together a group of about 275 people to assemble bikes. We handle that all across America. And then we have an award ceremony for the children based upon their 3rd grade book, and they proceed through that 3-year curriculum program. The first book that yes.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to just say something about being in the school system, because again, I have a bit of experience with that. You know, some of the work we've done in Title I middle schools on financial literacy and some of the other work, it is hard getting things approved to be within the school systems. And you have done, starting in Southern California and now all across the country, just an amazing job of getting school systems who don't always march to the same drummer to embrace your program. Can you just spend a second talking about why the school systems and superintendents and principals and teachers are embracing this program?
Yeah. Dennis, we've never been turned down by a school system. It doesn't mean it's been easy. We actually, when we find a city that says, we really want to have you involved with us, let's say like Toledo, I mean, the first thing we do is we contact the Toledo school system, superintendent of schools, and we request to go in. It's been much easier now because we have so many superintendents of large school systems in America right now. I think Tampa is the 6th largest school system in the country. I think Jacksonville, Florida is one of the top 5. Greensboro, believe it or not, is in the top 10. And so we have all kinds of letters of recommendation. But you are correct. Our theme is nothing is given, everything is earned. And you would kind of think that that could rub some people the wrong way, but it never has. We've had principals say, we love this because that's how we give grades out. We just don't pick a good looking little cute kid and say, let's give them an A. It's based upon how they perform when they're in school. And that's really what we see as life. And that's why their education achievement matters. And that's really what this is all about, is to identify with these children that education matters. And you'll see that in the first book, and we wrote it. And I think that, Dennis, you and I spoke that, we've already been contacted by Inside Edition. And they are very interested in this program. They've seen it. And so we think we'll be on a Friday night TV with Deborah Corville. And part of the reason is because of what we have done within the school systems. But the superintendents love this. They say, we've heard, if I've heard this once, I've heard it 100 times. We love this material. We have nothing like this in our school systems, nothing that teaches character. And I always say, look, we're a character building program that happens to have a bike as a commodity. We're not a bike program that's teaching character. We're a character building program that awards a bike for the achievements that children have made. And this is the biggest and most significant gift they've ever had. And you'll see the tears of these children here in a second getting this, and it's tears of happiness, but it's like the kids say, I never thought I could earn a bike. And that's what we want them to say to us when we get done. Not thank you for the bike. I never knew I could earn a bike. And we emphasize in our award ceremonies.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've noticed as I've been to some of these ceremonies and I've talked to some of the people involved is that many of us growing up had a sense of accomplishment for, maybe we mowed lawns, or maybe we, had a newspaper route or other sorts of things, and developed money to be able to buy a bike or then earn other money to do things. And
Right.
So that seems to be a really interesting connector. And I've heard a few of my psychologist friends say that there's some kind of connection here. They earn the bike, they then see the bike every single day. And it's a reflection of, if I work hard, no excuses and accountability, I can do things in my life. And that seems to be part of the secret sauce of this thing, right?
That's correct. The last thing we do in our award ceremonies is we say, now turn around to everybody out there, all the adults, everybody in the room, and look at them and say, and point to yourself, I earned my bike. And then let's cheer as big as we can. So we really get them to understand that they didn't just get given a bike, they earned the bike, and this is something they can be proud of, and it makes a huge difference. And
Yeah,
as you can see, there's our book on the screen right now. Think big, work hard, be kind, no excuses. We used to have a book that we used called Think Big, and I decided after a couple of years of using it, I said, we need to put these bikes in the books in the kids' hands. And so we decided we could write our own material. And Dennis, I've written 9 marketing books, and I said, okay, I can write a children's book. So now I'm an author of 6 children's books. But we wanted to do it because we can print these for about $1.35. And that means we can give every child a book. And I've actually had children cry when they've passed the books out and coming up with doubt in their voices, saying, do I really get to keep this book? And this is, for many of these children, it's the first new book they've ever had. And so they relish this book. And this is a side of the world that most of us don't realize. And yet 68% of all elementary school children are Title I kids. So it's happening in our community, it's happening in your community, it's happening in every community across America. So how did this book get started? Well, the first thing we do is we obviously give the teachers the lesson plan. We go through the lesson plan with them. We always have the teachers will be teaching this book, come in for a meeting. They get the lesson plans, and then they distribute this book to the children. They spend 2 days a week for 8 weeks going through this book. So they'll spend a Tuesday and a Thursday for 20 to 30 minutes on each one of those days, going through reading the book of what's it mean to think big, work hard, be kind, no excuses. The little boy in that book his name is Zach. And Zach is getting on his school bus, getting ready to go to school, and he starts to reminisce. He says, something's different today. He says, but I don't know what it is. I'm sitting on my same bus. I'm in my same seat. I've got my same clothes on, my same backpack. Everything looks the same. And then he says, I know it's different. And he starts to think something in my head is different. something happened this weekend. And then he starts to reminisce about what happened. And essentially what happened was he went to that weekend, he went over to his best friend's house. And while he was there, his best friend's older brother, was having a celebration with 4 of the kids, or 5 of them. And they were graduating from high school. And they were talking about, remember when we were in 3rd grade and we decided what we were going to be someday when we grew up? And look where we are today. They'd held each other accountable starting in 3rd grade as what they wanted to become. And they had sat and reminisced about what they thought they wanted to be. And one wanted to be a veterinarian, one wanted to be a nurse, one wanted to be a teacher, one was going to be an electrician, the other one wanted to be a police officer, all of which required good grades to get into, whether it was the police academy or the university or the technical school. It required good grades. So they had learned in 3rd grade, as they were discussing in this book, that grades actually mattered. And it wasn't because of the school, it was because of what they wanted to be when they grew up. And as Zach is walking by, as they're celebrating with a cake and candles, their accomplishments that they had made, they asked Zach as he's going by, Zach, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, well, I don't know. And he says, no one's ever asked me that before. And they said, well, Zach, you don't wait till you're in high school to decide that. This is what you think about now when you're in 3rd grade, because grades matter, Zach. And so Zach walks away and he starts to think about what he wants to be. And as the book progresses, he decides a couple of things he thinks he may want to be, and then starts to realize that his fortune of life, his destiny of what's going to happen, is his responsibility and not his teacher's responsibility. And that's really the lesson of this. And when he gets done with the book, there's 3 sets of 10 questions they answer. So this is an 8-week study course. So there's 3 weeks of it right there. And one of the questions is, what's it mean to think big? What's it mean that nothing is given, everything is earned? Put your head down on your desk and visualize what you think you would like to be someday. We actually give the teachers explanations how to do that. A sidebar was with Ricky Prohl yesterday. You might know him as one of the great NFL players of all times. And Ricky Prohl actually pulled a paper out and said, I want you to look at this. He's got it framed. And it was when he was 11 years old, and he had visualized that he wanted to be a professional football player, and actually saw it with his own handwriting and pictures he drew next to it. And as they were cleaning out his old house, his mother found that and gave it to him a year ago, and he framed it. He almost had tears in his eyes thinking about it. His life began when he started to visualize, and that's what we do with these kids. So they teach them how to visualize. They go through these 3 sets of questions. Their last assignment is they have to write an essay. And the essay is, what do I want to be when I grow up? Why have I decided that's what I think that I want to do? And how the principles of think big, work hard, be kind, no excuses, how do they apply to my schoolwork, as well as what my goal achievement is that I want to accomplish? And they believe that the best essay paper, the best 3 are going to win a new bicycle. So they're competing for 3 bicycles in that school, the 3rd grade class in that school. Now, we've got every 3rd grade class in that school doing the same thing. So they're reading the book, writing the essays, and hoping they're one of the 3 best essays in the school. Our average school has about 100 kids in the average school. So instead of telling you exactly how this progresses, I'm going to let you see the 3-minute video of these actual kids. This happens to be Richard Petty's school. Richard Petty, the race car driver. They sponsor 5 schools for us and just are in love with this program. So anyways, go ahead and let's take a look at 3 minutes here.
Yeah, good.
Bikes for Kids is about working with underserved children, what we call Title I children, children that are living in families that are well beneath the poverty level. These are the children that they're given breakfast in the morning at the school, they're given lunch, and they're usually given a lunch pack somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a snack pack to take home with them because there's no food at the home.
We knew there was a lot of children that were underserved in our communities, but we had difficulty finding them and knowing where to go.
Every state has a Title I list, And then along with that list, there'll be a percentage of their student population. Even if you're at a school that has 80%, those children still are underserved. And so really we have so many needy children in all of our communities across the United States. We wanted to do something that was 100% money that would go straight to our charity. I realized that we had the sheer capability of changing the lives of children.
Our program is not a let's give a bike to a poor child. It's about how do we help break generational poverty. We have 3 character building books that they go through, so it's a 2-year program to be able to help these children sit down and encapsulate what their dreams are and then how do they move forward to be able to accomplish those dreams. There's an entire lesson plan that is in the school system. So our lesson plan has been approved by the states. They'll be instructed, they're going to write an essay paper on how does think big, work hard, be kind, no excuses apply to their schoolwork and their goals in life. And they write their essay paper based upon the book that they've read. And they believe they're writing an essay paper to win one of 3 bikes. They have no idea that when it's all done, we say to them, kids, we can't just give away 1 more bike. So instead of giving away 1 more bike, what would you think if we gave, and that's when the curtain goes up and we give everybody a bike.
The good news is everybody's getting a bike. Everybody's getting a bike. Everybody is getting a bike.
Kids that received our bikes outperformed the kids who didn't receive your bikes. So it was more than just a gift and something fun to play with. It was something that really helped change their lives too.
That kind of takes your breath away. When you sit down and realize you touched a child's heart like that. Every $500 we spend on a child, we're taking 1 child to move into college or in 2-year college, 4-year college, or into a trade that never would have gone. Never. We think that we're affecting our children about 9 to 1 as compared to what children are going through that don't have this program.
With this program, and when you read these books, a spark may happen. And that's all it takes.
I think that one of the things that you don't see in here is not only do they have their books and their award ceremony, during that award ceremony, before they come in, we have the high school that school is going to be going to. And we have the percussion marching band there, the section, the drums. We have the cheerleaders. We have the football players, the girls, the boys basketball team. They're getting high fives where they're walking down the hallway to go in. They got smiles on their faces. It's a day they never forget, ever. And they hear 3 of these kids who are graduating who went to their elementary school talking about how they're graduating and they're going on to college or junior college or wherever their technical school, but it took good grades to get them where they wanted to be. And they can identify because these kids that are giving that presentation, these kids for their 2-minute speech, are kids that sat on that floor with those kids or in those chairs in that auditorium. And now they're in high school graduating and they sit down thinking, the kids are challenging them. You can do this too. It just takes where you sit down and say, I got to have a good attitude. I got to do this. I got to do that. I mean, some of these kids, I wish I could take on a speaking tour with me because they're so impassioned with the kids that they're working with because they were in that situation. And these kids were Title I students. The other thing you don't see is every day they have an affirmation poster in the classroom that goes with these books, and they recite every single day. One kid reads this, and then the rest of the kids repeat it. And the pledge goes, I'm a kid that thinks big. And they stop. And then the rest of the room goes, I'm a kid that thinks big. Then they say, I'm smart. The rest of the kids say, I am smart. I am kind. I am kind. I work hard. I will make good. I will never make excuses. I will achieve my dreams for my future. I'm a kid who keeps my promises. So each one of those lines stop, and every kid in the room, we now have probably 50% of our schools, we're talking hundreds of schools right now, that do this over the intercom system, and they do it for 1st through 5th grade in their elementary schools. So We're giving them affirmations that they're not getting at home. So they're learning to think about, how do I think big? Why does education count? What's my personal responsibility? And oh, and by the way, I also believe I think big, I'm smart, I'm kind, I work hard, I make good, I get good grades, I'll never make excuses, etc. And they hear themselves saying that on a daily basis. And that makes a huge difference. These are our bikes.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff, Bob. Go ahead.
This is our bike. We manufacture our own bikes today. This is a Richard Petty racing bike. And we're the only bike company in the United States that has this bike. You'll never see this in a store any place. And Richard designed that bike with us. And every year we'll change colors as the race car changes that's appropriate, etc. So they get the Richard Petty racing car. At least they do in North Carolina. Now, if you're in a different state, you might sit down and say, okay, well, we also have a BFK bike that's a white bike, and it's a great looking bike too. So do you hate Richard Petty? Well, nobody hates Richard, but everybody likes Richard Petty. But anyways, that's the Richard Petty racing bike. You can see the kids here, some pictures of the children, or you'll see actually some pictures of of people putting bikes together on the, yeah, there you go. And these are, you can see the bikes in the background. This is a 5-day experience. We do all of this for every one of our cities. We put together the volunteers. Some are from churches, some are universities. It's a great group of people that come together. And you can see we took a picture on the bottom there with bikes behind this group. And I'm telling you, this is 600 and some bikes they put together. We had 4,300 bikes to make, but that was 6,300. I mean, that was about 650 these bikes. And there were people there that were wiping tears from their eyes, because when they turned around, unlike just giving a check to a charity cause, these people are here working for 2-4 hours, putting bikes together, and they can turn around and say, wow, there's a kid that's going to be sitting on every one of those bikes who never would have had a bicycle. And I'm making a difference in a child's life. This is what many organizations say is their absolute most favorite charity they participate in, because it's such a great team building and spirit building event that happens during that period of time.
Yeah,
and Dennis, you've had that experience.
I have had that experience, and I understand I guess they're now the Los Angeles Chargers, formerly San Diego Chargers, have been a longtime supporter and still do, right?
Yeah, the Chargers, the Padres, Drew Brees, Minnesota Vikings. Hopefully we're now into the Panthers, but it's still the majority of people that sponsor this are individuals, Dennis, like you. Dennis, I mean, thank you. You sponsor multiple schools. You've put us on to other people here in town to be part of that 43 school systems that we've got. And I don't know if people know, you are without a question one of the most noted financial advisors in America. But you have an unbelievable heart for kids, and you show it with what you've done to help us here as well. So I thank you for that.
Well,
Here's some pictures of the kids. You'll see this is what these kids look like after they receive their bike. You'll see a little boy crying at the very bottom of this, and he was a little kid who jumped up. And if we can get that next picture. But he's a little boy who jumped up and decided he had to hug his sponsor in tears. He was weeping as tears just poured down his face. And we had a little girl, and there you go, a little girl up on the left. Same thing. She could not believe she won a bike. She was the number 2 best essay, thinking there were only going to be 3 bikes given away. And she was just beside herself. Her teacher had to literally come over and hold her. And that little boy had asked for his dad for a bike for the last 2 years. He had 2 older brothers who had never had a bike. And his father had just told him a couple of days before that, son, we just can't afford to buy a bike. And I'm sorry, but we just can't afford to do that. So these are children. This is more than a bike. And I'll show you in a minute exactly what very important people said about this. If you take a look at our results, though, this is what happened in Southern California. The schools that did not go through this program, they decided to compare us. They actually did a study for 11 years. And their normal kids that did not go through our program, underserved, we're talking Title I children, 1 out of 60 would go on to post-high school education. Our schools increased that to 14 out of 60. I mean, that is an amazing increase. It was so amazing. We were voted most influential executives of the year for Southern California.
Wow.
So you can see that, I mean, we're just not giving bikes away. We really are a curriculum-based, character-based program that's making a difference in kids' lives. The next this one here, this is a letter from Cindy Martin. You may not know who Cindy Martin is, but she today is the Deputy Secretary of Education in the United States. She was a principal and she was the superintendent of San Diego schools, and I sponsored a school that she was principal at, started out for 17 years. And I was the school that they did the analytics on. She says, "Dear Bob, the day you contributed the bikes and helmets to our children, you delivered far more than a bike. You delivered a vote of confidence. You affirmed in their hearts that hard work and dreams really do come true. Your actions sent the message that we believe in you. We know you're smart. Don't be afraid to take risks. Make your education count and achieve your dreams. Your incredible contribution to our children continues to change lives here at Central Elementary. Thank you for making this miracle happen. With deepest respect and gratitude, Cindy Martin." So up until a year ago, she was on our board. Today, though, she's Deputy Secretary of Education throughout the U.S.
Amazing. So Bob, if the story stopped here, it's an amazing story, but you continue to do some pretty innovative stuff. Are we ready to talk about the next phase about eating habits of these kids?
Yes, we have 3 books in the system. The first one you just saw, and it's called Think Big. The next year they come into and they have a book called What Should I Eat Today? And that is a nutritional book. There was actually the chairman of the board for the Academy of Pediatric Physicians got me interested in writing this book and actually helped me with that, and one of his associates. So we decided that we wanted to do something to affect dietary issues within the school systems. Now, why is that so important? What they found was that since COVID hit for the last 2 years, the average Title I student in America in elementary school has put on 22 pounds. Now, that's unbelievable when you're talking little kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old, the amount of weight that they've put on. But they put the weight on because there's no food at home. And so they weren't coming in for their afternoon lunches. They weren't there for breakfast in the morning. So there wasn't a banana for them or an apple. And essentially, when they said, "Mom, I'm really hungry," they would say, "Get some chips and a Coke." And that's all that was in the house. So what we would call heavily processed foods really became all that they had. And the dollar store really did make an impact on these children. So we thought, what happens if we write a book and we address this? We had a lady who had lost 115 pounds. She's an African-American lady, absolutely a heart of gold, Adretta Hall, and she'd written a poem called What Should I Eat Today? And she asked me, what do you think I could do with this poem? So we took the poem, we turned it into a narrative. We actually, in this book, we have all kinds of exercises of the kids learning what we call red light foods, yellow light foods, and green light foods are. Green light foods are your go foods with high energy. Red light foods are the foods that you really got to think twice because they can put quick weight on you. Very few people realize an extra 250 calories a day. If you ate 250 extra calories a day, at the end of a year, you'll put on 15 pounds. And that only includes, that would be, for instance, a muffin has 500 calories in it. A Coke has 150 calories. 2 Oreo cookies have 140 calories. A simple small bag of potato chips is about 160 calories. Put a Coke with that, you got 290 calories or so. So it doesn't take much, particularly on a small child. And so here's the foods that you want to stay away from. Here's the foods that you want to get. We're now in conversation with Burpee Seeds. They're very interested in putting in 4 pages of this book, and that is, how can I grow green light foods? And so we're talking to them right now about putting their 4 pages in. They're interested in possibly providing seeds for every one of these kids who get this. So we'll be growing carrots in the north. We'll be growing lettuce in the south because everything is demographic, what we can do. They'll actually have an opportunity to take a picture of this and qualify for at least a dozen scholarships throughout the U.S. and probably have their picture put on a package of seeds. So everybody's really grab this book, and we even have recipes in here for mom and dad to show how easy it is to cook healthy and to stay away from many of the items that they use in their cooking habits. Right now, that book, we're not doing that just with Title I students. We've had Jacksonville, Florida asked for 11,000 copies of this book. They're giving it to every single 4th grader in their school system. Charlotte asked for 9,000 copies. Greensboro has 6,000 copies. All of Rochester, New York has asked, I don't know how many thousands of copies that was. So this book has just got a life of its own that people are really grabbing this. And Some are using for second grade, some for fourth grade, but it's opened the doors now for us for many places. Now take this book and then slide into the third grade book, etc. And the last book, that's the fifth grade book, Zach and Thad Discover the 4 Money Secrets. That happens to be Richard Petty's grandson, number 46. And he's a huge advocate for us. He will actually speak in regards to this book and come and do some appearances. And that's a financial literacy book, or what we call financial empowerment for fifth grade students. On top of that.
Yeah, that's fabulous, Bob. Again, as much as we like financial literacy and think that there's not enough of it with some of the youngins, the eating piece is just so fundamental to everything. And so congratulations that, well, first of all, congratulations that you got the Pediatric National Association behind this whole effort. And congratulations that it's expanded beyond Title I, because clearly the obesity epidemic and some of the other issues go way beyond even just the folks that are living in poverty and working poor.
As you know, Dennis, every one of these books has posters that goes in the classroom. That becomes their theme for the year. And on all of our books, we even have, like, this is a little bracelet. And so these kids get a bracelet. And this bracelet says, "Green light foods keep me healthy and fit." So they'll put that bracelet on their arms and they'll wear that for the entire school year. And our Think Big says, "Think big, work hard, no excuses." And then we have a money secret as well. So we give a lot of additional help to these kids with their pledges, their posters, little things that they wear. It really does become the theme, and hopefully it's making a difference. Yeah. And our other book, I think that we wrote, is called The Faraway Warrior. We were actually working with the United Heroes League. The United Heroes League works with children that have a parent that's deployed overseas. And they asked me if I could write a book to be able to help these children get through that difficult time. Well, I wrote the book called The Faraway Warrior, and they loved it so much. They said, "What else can we do to help support this?" And so I happened to have met someone who's in Nashville and just was nominated as New Country Music Recording Artist of the Year, Brandon Bing. And Brandon Bing said to me after he saw this program, he says, "I want to sponsor a school." He says, "What else can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, you want to sponsor 2 schools?" And he says, No. He says, "I mean something bigger." And all I could think was, I said, "Well, you want to write a song for us?" And he says, "On what?" And I said, I told him about the book, The Faraway Soldier. So anyways, Brandon Bing wrote the book, wrote the song, The Faraway Soldier, and we released the book and the song on November 11th. So literally that was 8 days ago. We've released it, and we are now in the Air Force. We're waiting for final approval with the U.S. Army, and we are walking into the Navy right now, and hopefully that will take us into the U.S. Marines. But the Air Force is utilizing this with people that they're taking overseas that have minor children, giving them the book. And Brandon Bing, you'll probably hear a lot from him. He's what I call the young Toby Keith of America. He sings patriotic songs, and this thing has just taken off like crazy in the last 8 days. So you can see, you can look it up, and you can see it.
Well done.
As far as how do you get involved in something like this, it's really pretty simple. For us to be able to do a school, it runs about $12,000 to sponsor school. Even though I'm the president of the organization, I still sponsor 2 schools per year and pay the expenses. We have other people that sponsor a school. Some sponsor 2 schools, some sponsor 5 schools. Some people share a school. So I can pay $6,000 and I want to do that. You got to remember, for every school you sponsored, you're taking that school from about 1.5 of those students, 100 students that will go on after high school, and you're moving it from 1.5 to approximately 20. So 20 kids you're impacting that would go. So if you knew you could pay $800 to be able to put a kid that would never would have had an opportunity to go to college or a trade school, and this is what would take them there, that's exactly what you've done. So $6,000 sponsors a half a school, $2,500 buys our curriculum books for 3 years. And that's a huge deal. And the other thing you can do, you can volunteer a company. So you could look at this and say, if you want to give a contribution or don't, you can say, hey, I've got a company here and we would like to be able to help in assembling bikes. We'd be all committed to our 100 employees or our 20 employees coming, and let's get them involved and let them, because anyone who comes and helps us do that, we want them at one of these award ceremonies to see the kids receive these bikes and the impact it makes, because you'll walk out a changed person. As a matter of fact, of our sponsors that do sponsor, you'll see a banner. We provide a banner for all of our sponsors. There's a Bikes for Kids Foundation, community sponsor, Town Bank. That's a bank here in town. You have one of these, Dennis, in your office that has Stearns Financial on it. And that's a picture of, that's a real child there who won the bike. Dad is teaching her how to ride her bike for the first time. And I'm sure you get comments of people walk into your organization and say, tell me about your Bikes for Kids Foundation. So that's,
absolutely.
yeah, and we get this a lot from everybody. And we also have a banner for those who sponsor the What Should I Eat book. So we have one with What Should I Eat, and it says request your complimentary copy. So if somebody wants the banner, it says, we'll buy 100 of these books and put them here. We'll give people want a complimentary copy, we'll give it to them as a complimentary copy. And then finally, how do you grow your impact in your local area? Well, if you can become or find a school sponsor, if you can identify someone who says, we'll sponsor school, or a couple of people say I'll sponsor school, we will fly into your area. We'll meet with your school system. While we're there, we would offer to speak to any organization you wanted us to. It could be a civic club, it could be a church, it could be just conducting a luncheon or a cocktail reception. I did one of these a few weeks ago, and they actually rented a hangar at the small little private airport. And we walked away, we had 11 sponsors for schools when we got done. With 16 people there, and 11 people said, I want to sponsor school. And they're hoping to put together 17 sponsors for Rochester, New York. Once our sponsors are secured, we think 5 is a reasonable goal. We do the rest. So we're the ones who contact the school system. We go through the plans with them. We get the lesson plans to them. We show them what to do. We hold their hand through the entire thing. We order the bikes. We know what bikes to order. We always order 5% more bikes than they need, because sometimes these schools are transient. And so we make sure that everything is done. And then the fun part comes, and that is when we come in to do your award ceremony, we want you to invite your employees, your clients, your friends, your church, your civic club to assemble bikes. Okay, and that includes any child that's over 8 years old can screw pedals on a bike. It takes 2 people to a bike, one on each side, to be able to put these bikes together. You'll be able to do about 10 bikes an hour, but even a child can screw pedals on. It makes a big impact. Conversations to children and grandchildren who you talk about, these are kids we're doing these for, honey, that don't have what we have. It's a great conversation. And then we want you and your sponsors to come and participate in the school awards ceremony, so you can actually see the impact you've made in these schools. So the more adults we have in the back of these award ceremonies, the bigger the impact. And it's like somebody said that kids never give up because they find out they're poor. They give up when they come to a conclusion they've lost hope. And hope isn't given by another child. Hope is given because of an adult who says, I believe in you. And the more adults we get in the back of these rooms who are clapping and applauding and cheering, and the more these kids, their faces beam because they realize that they really do count and they matter and they are smart and they can do what they're setting out to do. So adults in those things, pivotal to making an impact. So I'm going to give it back to you, Dennis. That's the program. If your people would like a copy of these books or one of our brochures explaining everything on it, if they'll contact you, I'll be more than happy to provide anything that they'd like. And if someone would like to talk about getting this started in their area, I'd be more than happy to give them a call.
Yeah, well, thank you, Bob, and thank you what you're doing for so many kids all across the country. I have for a long time felt like the base of the fire on generational poverty is where we really needed to be active. And I've done a lot there, but I've got to say your program is one of the top 3 in my book. So well done. And again, if we had just stopped this program about 20 minutes ago, a lot of folks would have said, wow, really good, well done. And you just keep on doing other things like the whole nutrition program and partnering with Burpee and getting the country music singer of the year to write a song. I mean, Bob, you are you are living what we talked about in our chat a week ago about the next chapter of life and making a difference. I mean, you haven't even, I mean, you kind of have a foot in both canoes. You know, you're still with a successful company and you're running this other organization. So you haven't even really gotten to that next chapter and you're really making a difference. You're an inspiration. So again, thank you so much for sharing everything about the program with our audience.
Thank you, Dennis. So thank you for your support. You've been an absolutely fabulous support for us. You've made a difference in a lot of children's lives. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It is truly my pleasure and Stearns Financial's pleasure to be involved. And with that, we will wind up. Again, anyone who wants information can contact us and we can connect you with Bob. We can get you a copy of the book, and whatever level you want to get involved, go for it. And this program has been recorded, will be available on our regular YouTube channel. I know my plans are to send it out to a number of my friends and try to keep this miracle growing. And so I would encourage everybody here, if you have a few friends who have an interest in anything we've talked about today, please share this program. Thank you and hope you all have a wonderful weekend.